I'm here today with Don Harsch from Exquisicare and talk about a leader in our community, somebody who has had some incredible successes. So I am so looking forward to this conversation, Don.
It's great to see you. So happy to be here.
Yeah, so a nurse by trade turned entrepreneur. So tell us about that and how that all unfolded.
So took nursing, and initially when you're 18 years old and you're just finishing high school, I'm like, hey, I want to go to Texas. This is going to be awesome. I'm going to become a nurse. And so I took nursing and then quickly didn't go to Texas, but always had sort of an entrepreneurial mindset. And so my plan was always to take nursing and then take my MBA because I believe healthcare is a business. And unfortunately, it's often a poorly run business because we take these great nurses and doctors and we say, you're a great doctor, you should run this hospital.
Yes.
Well, she's maybe a great doctor and has really great clinical skills. And when you take her out of that role where she has the education and the know-how and you make her manage budgets and people and contracts, it's just not a good fit. So I'd taken my business degree after nursing because I wanted to be in the administrative side of healthcare.
Okay. And did you have an entrepreneurial, where did that come from? Was that in your family or were you just where did that get instilled in you?
I think it's, very much family. My mom had an insurance agency. At one point, my dad had a sporting goods store. It's a mentality and it's kind of something that you're raised with. And we raise our kids that way as well. We don't always raise them to say, what do you want to be? Yeah. We say, what do you want to do? So it's it's a slight difference, but it's very different. And so while I was doing my MBA, I actually wrote a business plan for what turned out to be Exquisicare. There were some tweaks to it, but it's something that was always kind of in the back of my mind.
And where did the idea for Exquisicare come from?
I think it came, so I did work a little bit as a nurse, more so when I was going through my MBA. Yeah. Other than that, I haven't done a ton of clinical nursing, but I worked in long-term care. And I was really struck by how unjust it was and how we treat seniors. These institutional settings where you've got between 50 and 100 elderly people. I mean, this is 30 years ago. And we had 6-bed wards separated by tattered curtains, one shower for 30 people, concrete floors. I was like, this is horrible. And I never want my parents or grandparents to be treated like this.
Yeah. And so tell us about Exquisicare and what is it?
So Exquisicare, I have always said, it's an alternative to institutional long-term care.
Yeah.
And started it, I left Alberta Health Services on good terms. I had a great job, but I'd always had this burning desire to do something different. And I always wanted to kind of be my own boss as well. So we provide long-term care. So for seniors who need a significant amount of care, up to and including that palliative stage, in custom-built high-end residential estate homes with 24/7 care. Mm-hmm. It is, up until now, private care, and that's okay. Because if people want to access that level of care, they should be able to pay for it. Mm-hmm. The part of that does always bother me a little bit is that it makes it inaccessible to everybody. Right. And so over the last 12 years, I've done a ton of advocacy work with the government of Alberta to show that there is a better way to provide care. Not only do we get better outcomes, but it's in fact less costly to the system as a whole because the seniors do better. So we have fewer falls, fewer bed sores, better nutrition. And so this government here in Alberta has listened and they released a capital grant about 2 years ago. So they are looking at ways to fund the better model of care, which is Exquisicare.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So just your purpose, and I know your why behind it was always about providing a different level of care. Mm-hmm. And so if it's in your model or with the government and government funded, I think so many times as an entrepreneur in any industry, we're faced with a paradigm. So for you, it was public healthcare system, and we don't fit inside of that paradigm. So how have you worked with that? So private, public, what have you had to overcome in order to, I'm going to say, combat that or innovate inside of that system?
Yeah. So I think when you're working in government, the challenge there is there's very little innovation that happens within government.
Yeah.
And so innovation typically is happening in the private sector.
Yeah.
And then it gets proven out and then government will adopt that. And so when I looked at senior care, I looked at it as, yes, and I kind of wear these two hats, right? So I'm a nurse and I want the best for the seniors and the people that we serve. And I'm also a business person.
Yeah.
And so it has to make sense from a business perspective. It had to make money.
Yeah.
And you know what? That's okay. Yes. Because profitable, successful businesses support our economy and support our community. And so happy to create a business model that not only makes money, supports all the people who work for us, supports their families, and provides excellent care to seniors.
Yeah, a win-win-win.
Win-win-win.
Yeah, absolutely. And was that model well received in the community, or have you had some backlash with the private versus public? What's that response been?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You know, initially a lot of people said, "Oh, that'll fail. It's too American. People won't pay for that," and they were completely wrong. So within the first 3 months, our first location was full, and then we built a second location, and then we built a third location, which opened during COVID. I don't even like that word anymore, but opened during COVID, and it was still full. So people are looking for that alternative to institutional care, and our parents deserve it.
How did you handle the people saying, this is going to fail, this isn't going to work? I'm sure that's not the only time you heard it in the beginning.
I just didn't listen to them.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, whatever. You can think that if you want, but I don't believe you. And here's why I didn't believe them. So yeah, I didn't listen to them. And I tend to go with my gut. I manage with my gut. I lead with my gut. But I also did the research. So I had some research to back it up in terms of market analysis. And if you look at the market of senior care, right, there's sort of three levels. There's home care, there's assisted living, and then there's long-term care. And there's a huge market in this middle, which is assisted living, and people are paying for that. They're paying a lot for it. And then there's no market for long-term care because the only option is government funded. And so I did some demographic, and I wrote my business plan, and it made sense. And I had a very supportive husband who's a banker, and although being somewhat risk averse, he supported it. He said he saw the vision, and so it was a big leap for us, but we did it.
Yeah. And so what was that leap like, leaving government, benefits, comfort to go do your own thing? Was that an easy decision? Was that a tough decision?
I don't think that's ever an easy decision. And, for us, there was a significant financial investment too. So we kind of refinanced our house. I'd never recommend anybody do that. But we did what we had to do. And so I give so much credit to him for supporting me in that. The first couple of years are hard because you're having to make decisions about who do you pay, and you pay your staff always.
Yeah.
And so there's times where you're not paying yourself, and you've got to be able to flex that. And so thankfully I had a husband who has a very supportive and stable job. So we were able to make it work that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, the first couple of years is always tough.
And how did you handle that? I mean, it's been a while, right? Because how long is Exquisicare?
Exquisicare is 13 years
13,
old.
yeah.
How did I handle that first couple of years that were tough? I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. You just do it. Like, you just dig in and you get gritty and you manage it day by day. And, I would think the thing that continued to make me successful, and the thing that I'd always say to my now nurse managers, because I've stepped out of the day-to-day, thankfully, is I said, yes, we're a business. Yes, we want to be profitable, but you always make your decision as a nurse first. So what is best for that client and their family members, and the business will be fine.
Yeah.
Right. So, but you're never, we're not looking at the bottom line as our decision maker.
Yeah.
We're looking at do what's right for the client. And that has never led us astray.
Well, and I think that translates to any industry is when you say true to your purpose, you stay true to being in service, the business follows. It's when we get into that energy, right?
Yeah.
That's usually when people get into trouble.
Yeah, I would imagine. Yeah. And so I think we've done that very well, and we continue to do that. And I'll say our clients are not only the seniors that we serve, but it's the team that works for us. And that was one of sort of the descriptors of Exquisicare, is not only is this a wonderful environment for seniors to get the care that they need, and for families to know that their loved one is getting this great care, but I wanted to create an environment where people want to go to work.
Yeah.
And so I always thought my job, and again, because I was never super clinical, my job was to support the nurses and the healthcare aides that work for me so that they feel like they own it and they love it, and they come to work and they don't want to go anywhere else. And that has been one of our keys to success.
I love that. Take care of your people.
Yes.
Right?
Take care of my people, and then they take care of the clients.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So good. You have lots of accolades and in the business community. So president of the Chamber of Commerce, you've been in multiple different organizations, boards, rubbed elbows with many, many entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
How important has being out in the community and in the business community, how important was that to your success?
being in the business communities, it was vital to the success of Exquisicare. And we still see that now, that referrals come to Exquisicare because of me and because of my name. And so that is super important as your business starts. But you know what I've started to consider as we're transitioning the business, because we sold a couple of years ago, is a business can't be all about me. It can't just be my name. And so it's a transition that's happening with the company where I want it to survive and thrive well after I'm gone. And so yes, we start with the networking and the marketing and relationships, and that always needs to be there, but it needs to be less about me now in order to grow it across Canada.
Yeah, that's important,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
You running a business, you have a
I
family,
do.
so 2 kids who are
Yeah.
graduating.
3. So I have an older
kids,
one too.
sorry,
Yeah,
right?
that's
You have 3 kids.
Yeah.
So talk about being a mom, business owner, leader in the community, and how did you juggle all of that? Just what's been that experience?
Yeah. So the mom piece is interesting because yes, I wanted to start a business and I'm entrepreneurial mindset. But the other thing that was really important to me in starting that business and part of the why was that I still wanted to be a mom. Like I was working in a corporate job where we actually had regularly scheduled meetings at 7 a.m. So I'm leaving the house at 6 a.m., handing my children over to a nanny. And I'm like, this is not okay. You know, I didn't have children to hand them over to somebody else to raise. So started a business so that I could flex my time.
Yeah.
And also, it wasn't just a hobby business. You know, some people say women start lifestyle businesses, and that was never my intention.
Yeah.
But being able to juggle the business, dropping my kids off at school and picking them up every day, which I pretty much did until they started to drive. Being out in the community, it means that you may still be working at 9 o'clock at night, but you know what? I took 3 to 4 off so that I could go pick my kids up and drive them home from school. And those drive time conversations are invaluable. And I miss them so much now that my kids are driving. I don't know what's going on with them anymore.
It's some of my favorite time with my kids.
You learn
it's
so
the time
much.
in the car.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Have you, being a female business owner, has that provided any unique opportunities or challenges?
You know, it's interesting. The female question is interesting.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't wear my hat and poor me, I'm a woman, you know, life's so hard.
Yeah.
I don't buy into that or subscribe to that, but there are some differences still. Yeah. I think that in my industry, it's a benefit. So in the healthcare industry, which is predominantly female, people saw me as a leader. I can see how women in non-traditional female roles might see that as a detriment. But I've had some great support. I was part of the WPO organization as a member, and I'm actually going to be chairing a chapter. Yeah, they asked me to chair a chapter. And so I miss that connection to other women business owners. And so I'm really happy to be able to bring a group together and help them succeed.
That's great.
Yeah, it is great. Yeah, and that was huge. You know, the support of having other business owners that are in the same boat and dealing with the same issues and just bouncing ideas off each other was invaluable.
Yeah. And I think people often underestimate that, right? It can be very lonely.
It's very lonely. Yeah.
Yeah. And so having that community.
Yeah.
What's important to you? Because you belong to a few different communities. If somebody's looking for that community and support, what's important in looking for the right fit? What have you found?
Well, I think that's just it. It's got to be the right fit. Yeah. And there's a bunch of them out there. Like there's all sorts of peer support sort of networking groups. Try a few, see what works for you. You want to find a group where you feel completely comfortable that you can be 100% authentic. And so I think consistency in that group is really important. Yeah. I think going on a regular basis is really important because not only are you there to get answers to your questions, you're there to learn from other people's experiences. And so I think if you're going to commit to one, go. Go every month to those meetings and you will find that you will learn so much.
I love that. And the authenticity is important because you need to be vulnerable enough to ask your questions.
And to really learn. Like you're not just there to say, oh, business is great and we did great and we made this much money and my family's awesome. Because that's not true. So we're looking for the bottom 5 and the top 5. So what's that? My life sucks. This is falling apart. I need help, but you guys can't tell anybody.
Yeah.
We want to hear those so we can really add value. Yeah. And we want to be in the room where a business owner says, I made $1 million last month. Yeah. And we're like, that's awesome. Good for you. Yeah. And you might not want to advertise that in the greater community, but we are nothing but happy for people when they're making money.
And to celebrate that. Yeah. I know that it's not always a straight line, and there's been some failures and there's been some things that maybe haven't always gone your way. So talk about navigating those moments and what your strategy is when things aren't going the way you want them to go or thought they would go.
Yeah, there's definitely moments where things don't go the way you plan. Probably the first example was when I'm building my first home. And I didn't know what I was doing. I wasn't a construction person, although I know a lot more about construction now than I certainly did. And going to the city and saying, we want to do this. And they said, you do this. And we got our building permits and our development permits. And then we got a different development officer. And he said, oh, no, you don't do this and this and this. And the house was halfway done, by the way. It was like framed. And they literally ripped up my permits in front of me. And here I am, baby little entrepreneur Dawn. What am I supposed to do here? And so the only thing you can do is put your head down and get to work.
Yeah.
Like figure it out. And I heard an analogy at a business conference once, and I'm not even a Star Trek fan, but whoever the leader guy is on Star Trek he would talk to like Spock or whoever these people are. And so they would come and say, there's a meteor coming. Like, what are we going to do? We're dead. And the Star Trek captain guy would say, what else can we do? And they would give him an answer. And he would say, what else can we do? And they would give him, and he would just keep saying, what else can we do? Until the answer revealed itself.
Yes.
And so I kind of adopted that. And I'm like, yeah, so COVID, this sucks, but we have to get through it. So what else can we do? What else can we do?
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
So good. You ran this business and then you had a new vision, a new dream. And so tell us about what that vision was and what's going on with the business now and what that looks like.
Yeah. So the vision was always to sell. I never wanted to just build this little company and kind of run it forever. I wanted to grow it. I wanted to make an impactful change for seniors across the country. So always had intended to sell, but not this soon. And then in February of 2022, sort of out of the blue, I get 4 inquiries about buying my company. And I was like, well, what the heck's going on? Like, what do you 4 know that I don't know? Because this is weird because it wasn't really for sale. They were all from Toronto. And so the real reason that they were all looking for an Alberta acquisition was because they needed an Alberta footprint in order to bid on a government contract. So I figured out why. But then I also thought, is this an opportunity that we need to really look at? So my husband and I, sort of wrote off 2 of them fairly quickly, but then 2 of them seemed like decent potential offers. One was from a company that we eventually sold to, and the other was from a private equity company. 2 very different offers, would have been 2 very different pathways to take. The private equity company, good offer. They didn't want the real estate. They only wanted my operating company. And, we had just come through COVID, which was hard, but we made it and we had 0 cases of COVID. And then the other company wanted everything and they wanted to continue to grow the company. And that spoke to me. And, we'd always bootstrapped this all ourselves. And so it'd be really nice to have a company like that kind of behind us to grow across Canada. So we did. We ended up selling on April 3rd of 2023.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what has that transition been like for you? So entrepreneur, this is your baby.
Yeah.
And to make that change, what was that like? Well,
I wasn't expecting it. And nobody tells you, or maybe they do, but I just didn't do the research, that when you sell your company, you go through a period of kind of depression. Like, and I was, what the hell is wrong with me right now? Like, why am I crying? I'm not a crier. But you have this profound sense of loss. And I didn't anticipate it. So I'm Googling, is it normal to be depressed? I was like, yeah, it is. Talk to other business owners.
Yeah.
So it was tough for about 6 months, despite the fact that the company that bought us, who I still work for, is excellent. They've got great values. It's a 115-year-old social enterprise, mostly Ontario-based, so they're learning. Mostly Ontario-based, so they're learning about Alberta. So it's different. It's different to be an employee.
Yeah.
And who knows what the future will hold. I may stay with them. Like they're good company. They have great values, but we don't know yet.
Well, and I think what you're speaking to is so important because I think it happens to a lot of people in retirement.
Yeah.
It happens to a lot of people empty nesting, right? This has been your baby. This has been your vision. This has been your dream. And all of a sudden, now what?
Yeah.
And time to come up with a new dream and a new vision, right? And we often miss that.
Yeah, for sure. People miss that when they sell a company.
Yeah.
And so hopefully I can help my WPO group understand that planning for that. And I think because it happened when we didn't expect it.
Yeah.
And the offer was decent and we were intending to sell like 5 years from now. And so, like, can we take that money now and invest it? And, you hate to not take advantage of an opportunity. So I've been really spending some time trying to dig in and figure out what's next. I'm too
Yeah.
young to fully retire. So I still got some gas in the tank.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anything else that you think would be important to share around just be what it takes to be successful and just to stick with it in tough times and the good times.
I had some significant health challenges during the course of that business, and they're good now, but they were all brought on by stress. And I think we underestimate what stress does to our body.
Yeah.
So I had an autoimmune disease and ended up having to have surgery in the midst of I think it was year 3 or 4 of my company. And I literally went into the operating room with my phone. I'm like, I need this in case somebody calls me. And the surgeons are going, "You're having major surgery right now. Can you put your phone back?" First thing I did when I woke up in recovery is like, can I check my phone? And so manage the business. That's one thing I learned, and I guess maybe a piece of advice that I would give to business owners and entrepreneurs is pay attention to your health, because your business is very important, but if you physically can't run it, it's useless. And so I didn't do a very good job of that, sort of managing what it did to me and what I took on as that stress and accountability
Yeah.
of, the financial implications for my family. That was substantial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
But I'm good now.
Yeah.
Really good. Yeah. Like
Which is great.
total remission.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't had
Oh.
symptoms for 4 years.
Oh, that's awesome, Dawn.
Yeah. Which is interesting because I stopped having symptoms during COVID.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm fine. And you talk about mindset. I believe this. I told myself I'm not having that anymore.
Yes.
I told myself I'm not going to have that disease. And my neurologist was like, "Oh, really?" I said, "Yeah, no,
Yeah.
really. I'm not having that."
Yeah.
And it went away.
I believe in that, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So your other question was really about what does it take to be successful? I think it takes that vision of the future and almost an obtuse ability to not listen to the naysayers.
Yeah.
Like you've got to be 100% focused on what you believe. And then you just make it happen. You put one foot in front of the other because there will always be people that will tell you you can't do it, you shouldn't do it. But you have to have that deep-seated belief in the why behind what you do. And then again, like we talked about, the profit will follow.
Yeah.
But are you doing the right thing for your clients and the people that you serve? Money will follow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and what I know from you too is you have that abundant mindset. You know that the profit was important.
Mm-hmm.
And so as much as you were focused on service, you also had some really great agreements around the money.
Yeah.
And a good mindset around that too, which is important.
It is important.
Yeah.
Business have to be profitable.
Yeah.
The other thing that I'm trying to do, in this next phase of my life is just mentoring young people. And so I'm part of the Junior Achievement She Leads, which is awesome. I'm so excited to mentor this young group of students to start their own little business.
Yeah.
But make it really clear to them, kids, you got to make money.
Yeah.
You got to make money so you can reinvest that to grow your business even bigger so you can employ more people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I say if you're not making income, you're not making impact.
Yeah.
And I just believe what this world needs is more heart-centered people with more money to make a better impact.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%.
When you think about full spectrum success, what do you think, looking back, could you have done differently, or were you patting yourself on the back and saying, good job, as you're seeing your kids now turn into adults and reflecting back?
Well, I think one of the things that I did, and this is thanks to you, was understanding that there's sort of 4 quadrants in your life. And yes, I want success in career and money, but also what is success in relationships? What is success in your family, your health and well-being? And so having a vision for not only my business, but what do I want my relationships to look like? How do I want my family to be successful? And laying out exactly what that vision is and seeing it And you did such a good job of helping me understand that I need to be able to see what that future looks like. So one of the things was, I wanted to be able to have a cabin. I want it on the lake. I want to go boating with my kids. I want to do a 360. I've done all those things. Don't consistently land it, but that's okay. But having that vision for how it all ties together, I
Yeah.
think, and understanding that your business may be successful, but it's going to be a heck of a lot less successful if you don't have calm and everything going well in your family and in your health. And when I had health issues, thankfully my business still did okay, but that was possibly not going to be the case. So you have to pay attention to all parts of your life in order for that business to continue to be successful. And for me and for most business owners, your business, it doesn't stop 9 to 5.
Yeah.
It's constant. And even when you're in Mexico, you're still working, and that's okay. Everything just flows together. And what I love about that is the example that we've set for our children, that you can enjoy life, but you got to work hard and you'll be rewarded for it.
Was there any daily practices, even weekly or monthly practices that were important to you that allowed you to stay connected to that vision, that allowed you to keep doing the do and in action? Was there anything specifically?
Reviewing it on a daily basis. So looking at that vision as it comes to those 4 quadrants. So my health, my time and money, my relationships, and then the business. Looking at that and staying connected to that on a daily basis, for me, important. For the company, every year around December, we do a review of what did we accomplish in the last year and what do we want to do next year. So what are our hopes, dreams, and biggest fears? And then we go from that and we look at where is there something that's lacking and how can we plan for it? Where is there a dream that we have and how can we plan for that? So I've always managed my company with a strategic plan that is a 1 and 5 year plan. So what are we doing this year? What's our dream in 5? And, in the past, there was a 10-year dream there as well.
Yeah. So important.
Yeah.
So important. You are such a delight, Dawn, and somebody that I certainly look up to in business and leadership and just have a lot of respect for. So thank you for being here today and for sharing a little bit of insight into your story.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
I hope you take at least one idea, one insight from Dawn and her story that you can apply into your life, your business to take you to the next level. I'm Stacey Berger. Here is to you living a life that you love.